it's Leoni Joyce. I'm here with Prime Video to talk to you all things dead hot. Okay, so we're gonna be recapping the first 3 episodes, but off the bat, I just need to say, I love this show. One of my favorite genres is thriller, and boy did they hit the mark with this show. Another thing I love to talk about, all things dating. Anything to do with dating, I'm there. Comedy as well. Like, this show has everything and they balance it so well. You go from a moment of, like I said, watching through your fingers, holding your breath, to the next minute you're laughing, like crying with laughter. They just found the perfect way to balance it all. So that being said, let's get into the first episode. The first scene, we meet the character Elliot. He arrives home with flowers, only to find his boyfriend's finger cut off on the floor, blood everywhere. And we're like, boom, let's go. I'm like, okay, mystery. I'm invested. Off the back, I'm invested. So yeah, they've set the scene. Now we're fast forwarding 5 years later. He's just finishing up a date with this handsome looking guy. His name is Will. It seems like it's the first date. And let me tell you something. I talk about this often. There is no better feeling than a really good first date. I always say, if you could bottle up that feeling and sell it, you'd have all my money. And you feel that through the screen with these 2 characters. And this is literally only a few minutes into the show. I'm hooked. Let's go. Take me on this journey. So yeah, we see Elliot on his way home. He's messaging Will, the guy he was just on a date with. You know, like he's just left him. He's messaging him. I am Elliot. Elliot is me. All the lover boys and lover girls unite. Okay, that's me. Relatable. I took myself back to a moment that definitely happened. Okay. So he gets home, tells his flatmate Jess all about the date. Like, she sits down, okay, tell me everything. She also happens to be his missing, dead ex's sister, twin sister. So he's telling her all about the date, and again, love this. I know you can all relate. That debrief after a good date and your friend gassing you up, like we see them like, oh my God, we both went on the same cruise, but a week apart. And it's like meant to be. Watching them, it felt like somebody had snuck in on me and my friends' conversations and it was playing out in a TV show. Relatable. I am them, they are me. From this point, we start to see flashbacks of Elliot and Will's date from the night before. And what I love is they show these flashbacks throughout the episode. I'm getting ahead of myself, but the way that in which they tie the whole story together, and they give you a little bit of a flashback here, a little bit of a flashback there, and with every flashback, the story is being tied together more and more. It's brilliantly done. I'm obsessed with this show. So we see that Elliot and Will, the guy he was just on a date with, they met in a club. Guys, question, by the way, comment below. Do you believe you can find love in the club? Because this is something I feel like it's frowned upon quite a bit, but I'm not against it. So throughout the day, we see Elliot watching his phone, waiting for Will to text him back. Hashtag I am triggered. Oh my God, I've been there so many times. That whole waiting for the person to message you after a date and you're just looking at your phone. Every message, you hope it's them, but it's not them. This is the day everybody wants to message you. Get off my line. I want my date to text me. So also what plays a big part in this series is this DNA app. So we see Jess at work. She's on this DNA app. One thing I love about these 2, Jess and Elliot, do not care for their jobs at all. And I'm here for it. But we see Jess on this DNA app. It tells her there's a match. It's like tier 1, so it could be a very close relative. And she believes this match to be her brother. The brother, Peter, who we see his finger at the beginning of this series. The finger was found, his body was never found. Like, that must be crazy. So she gets a match, thinks it could be her brother, and the person on the other side of this app is alluding to the fact they are indeed her brother. And like I was saying, Elliot still waiting for a text back from Will. His phone goes off, hoping it's Will. As expected, it's not, it's his grandma. Can we take a moment for Elliot's grandma? I love her. I love Bonnie, his auntie. Like, they are hilarious. So we meet them in this first episode and she's calling him asking, you know, why are you not showing up to work? Why are you late? He lies and says, you know, I've been going to church And so his grandma's like, you know, what a great boy. Gives him £500 for the offering. Somehow, I don't think that money's making it to the church. But shout out Elliot, get your money how you can. But yeah, so Elliot goes to meet Jess on her lunch break, stressing out about the fact Will still has not messaged him back. He is waiting on this text back. They said they were going to see each other later on in the day. Hasn't heard anything. And then we see him telling Jess, and through flashbacks as well, that he did tell Will about Peter, the ex that had gone missing. So he's like, did I scare him off? Like, what's going on? He's getting in his head. We've all been there. Do I send another message? Your friends are like, no. Like, there were so many moments where I was like, that is me. So then, obviously, Jess opens up to Elliot about the fact she got a match on the DNA app. It could be Peter. Elliot's not trying to hear it. He's not trying to hear it at all. But she still decides to go and meet whoever this match is. Well, the match tells her to go to this club, wait by the phone, and they're gonna call. In order to do that, she ditches work. She tells the workplace, I'm not coming back. Their lack of respect for their jobs, here for it. Cut to Elliot finally arriving at work, le bark bark, and he sees this Sphinx cat with blue eyes. He's in shock from what we think, runs to the bathroom. He's sick, throws up, and ends up texting Will, double texting. We see these little moments throughout the show, like we meet while he's at work. This man, we're just gonna call him for now, comes in with his dog and he's looking at Elliot like he knows him, and Elliot's like, no, I'm not who you think I am, and he leaves. And it's these little moments where every little moment in this show, you're like, there is a reason they are showing us this. It's gonna come full circle. Like, they build it, the way they build the story in this show, second to none. After being sick and double texting Will, just what a day, what a hangover. That's what I thought at the time. He runs out of work. Like I said, one thing about Elliot and Jess, they're not gonna give a heck about their job. You see Jess, she's made her way to this bar that the person on the app told her to go to. She's waiting by the phone. Cut to Elliot. He's home trying to get into this lockbox. He tries to call Jess to find out where the key is. Jess is not trying to hear it. Another thing I love about this show is how they build on Elliot and Jess's relationship. You see these little moments, like when Elliot was first telling Jess about his date with Will, and she walks out of the house and you see her make a different reaction, like, okay, there's another layer to this friendship that we're not seeing yet. Like, it's as the kids are saying these days, slow burn, but it's so beautifully done the way they build it up. But yeah, as I was saying, he manages to get into that box by fire, by force. He breaks that thing open and we see all these memories and pictures of him and Peter, his ex, and he's just looking through them. Cut to Jess at the bar waiting for the call. The phone finally rings. She picks up the phone and it's just heavy breathing. I think she thought she was going to speak to her brother in that moment. She comes back home to their apartment, finds Elliot like a mess on the floor. So we see he broke into this box because he was looking for a picture of that cat. And he shows the picture of the cat that's in the box to Jess, but he also took a picture of the cat at the bark bark. So he shows it to her and she's like, oh my God, that's the cat Marvin. So they're building the story slowly and we find out that that cat was Peter's cat, his ex, and they only found the finger, the cat was missing, and Peter was missing. So I guess they're clinging on to hope. If this cat is alive, Peter may well be alive as well. But yeah, they decide to go to Le Bark Bark. Love that name, by the way. They decide to go to Le Bark Bark, where he works, to look at the CCTV footage and see who brought in the cat. Was it Peter? So they storm into this place. They're in his manager Janelle's office looking through the CCTV footage. His work colleague Kelsey is shouting she's gonna call the police. Like, there is so much chaos in this show, but it's also got me on edge. Like, this show brings out so many emotions in you. They managed to see on the CCTV footage the cat being dropped off, so they're looking like, who is it that handed in the cat? Who is it? They're looking. The guy turns around and he's got a mask on his face of Elliot, and they're like, what the hell? But yeah, cut to another flashback where we finally see when Elliot lets Will know Peter's body was never found, so in his head he thinks he might still be out there. Like, the way I'm so obsessed with the way they built the story on this show. Cut to Elliot heading back home. He's angry that Will still hasn't messaged him back. He now rage texts him. And just to remind you, his last message to Will was, "How's your day so far? Weird AF on my end. Let me know if you still want to meet up." So after that message, he now follows up with, "Okay, so I'll just go f myself then." And then follows up with and some middle fingers. He is spiraling. He's definitely spiraling. But yeah, Will immediately messages back and says, "So sorry, it's been a crazy day. Want to meet up," basically. And of course, Elliot is on his way. So he goes to his place, which looks crazy on the outside. I'm going to be so honest with you. I would not step foot in that place. But he does. And oh my God, it's obviously a thriller. So the suspense, this is the moment I'm watching through my fingers. Like, you just know something is about to go down. Oh my God. But yeah, this scene is playing out alongside another flashback of Elliot's date with Will. We see them share a kiss, and then Will tells Elliot, "I want to take you somewhere." And this somewhere that Will takes Elliot is to this bar, the same bar that we have seen Jess earlier in the episode being told to go to with the match on the DNA app. She thought was her brother, but it was just someone breathing down the phone. Yeah, Will took Elliot there too. So in this flashback, we see them going down. Cut to now, Elliot is at the apartment and Will texts him, "Let yourself in." Strange, but Elliot does so. He goes into the apartment and then he sees a finger on the floor, just like his ex, blood all over the floor. Crazy. And that's how the episode ends, guys. If you watch this episode and didn't go straight to episode 2, you deserve a prize. Because the way they leave everything at a cliffhanger, you're gonna watch it in one sitting. You can't just watch one episode and call it a day. Absolutely not. They've got me hooked. So cut to episode 2, the police arrive on the scene and they're like, "Okay, explain to us what's going on." And Elliot explains that there is a finger, Will has been missing. I come to the apartment, I see a finger, there's blood all over the floor. And then we realized the finger was just cake. The way that your emotions bounce around watching this show, oh, chef's kiss. They do it so perfectly. But yeah, after that, it takes a quick turn to now the detective who's with the police questioning him about Peter, his ex, and him going missing. "Did you know something about this?" Like, it just takes a complete turn to now him and Jess outside arguing about it all, and just, wow. Whilst that's all going on, there is a man in a green car called Digby. Car, van, whatever that contraption was. He gave Jess a lift because she obviously came to meet Elliot at this apartment because he was going through it. We see him on the floor outside. Like, that's how the episode starts. And because it's like obviously a flashback to everything that happened with Peter is triggering. But anyways, Digby, this guy in the green car, gave Jess a lift, like, random character. Brilliant. That it was just like, there's just so many different elements. I love it. So they want to go to the shelter to see if this Sphinx cat that was at Labark that they believe to be Marvin, who was Peter's cat, is there. But the shelter doesn't open for another 6 hours. So rightly so, they decide to go to the club and wait in the club. Makes sense. So they go to the shelter. They find out that the cat died. Not only that, a man came in looking for that same cat the day before. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, the way in which this story is building, and it feels like, imagine you're walking down a street and you're gonna turn there. Then you're gonna go straight. This story is going like this. And it keeps you on your toes. After that disappointment at the shelter, Elliot decides he's gonna go and look for a job because he's obviously been fired from Labark, but, you know, breaking in to Janelle's office, they booted the door down, looking at the CCTV footage. He's been fired, it's not a surprise. And Jess is going to the offices for the DNA app to try and get some answers of who was it that she matched with on that app. Of course, as expected, they can't give her any information. But then, so she's outside and she bumps into this guy, Eugene, and she sees on his badge that he's like works in software development at the app. So she's like, okay. She gets his number and now she's plotting. She's gonna hopefully find out some information from him. Cut to Elliot, who went to go look for a job. Yeah, no, he doesn't. He's not trying to find Will through various different Google searches. Also, shout out the online detectives, because again, Elliot is me, I am Elliot. All I need is just 2 pieces of information on a guy. I'll know where he last went on holiday. I'll know where he works. I just need a little bit and I'm gonna find it. Shout out to all the online detectives. Elliot has no luck in trying to find Will, but he decides to create a dating profile for Will, and he names the name. Obviously you would put your name Will. No. Elliot puts, have you seen me? And he uses Will's picture. He gets a few like dud messages of people that are just messing with him. But there's one guy that's just basically like, oh, you're back now. I've had enough of you disappearing, going, coming back. And he looks at the picture and the guy has his face covered, but he's holding a dog. And this is the dog. This is the guy that came in on the first episode to La Bark Bark. And he was saying to Elliot, do I know you from somewhere? So whenever they introduce a little character, they bring them back later. Like, oh my God, the way in which the story builds on this show, so good. So then we finally see Elliot go to his grandma's house, who I am obsessed with, by the way. Obsessed with her character. And his auntie Bonnie is getting married. Again, another like small moment, but I love it. In the beginning, we see Elliot's grandma talking about the fact that her daughter, Elliot's auntie, is delusional and she thinks she's dating this model. Fast forward to now in episode 2, she was actually telling the truth and she's now engaged to this man. They're having a cake tasting. So something that was a throwaway comment and we think, yeah, Bonnie's just, you know, delulu. She's marrying this man. So yeah, so Elliot goes around to his grandma's house for the cake tasting. Enjoy, like, there's so many characters you love on this show. But yeah, Elliot also in this moment agrees to go on a date with this girl that his grandma wants him to go on a date with. And from there, he then decides to break into his old workplace, La Bark Bark, to find this guy that he's seen on the app that has responded to the profile of Will, that he knows him, to find out his name and his address. There's so many different storylines going on, but I love it. So yeah, he hacks into the database, into the computer systems, finds the man's address, finds his name. The man is called Timothy. He looks up the address and the address is opposite the building that Will had told him to go to. Like, there's just so many different pieces, and I'm not even telling you at all. If you haven't already, I highly recommend watching this show on Prime Video. I felt chills when I found out, oh my God, the guy lives opposite the building. But yeah, his manager or ex-manager Janelle catches him. He unplugs the computer quickly, but they decide to call it a truce because he's not gonna tell anybody that he found out she's sending the animals away, like not treating the animals well. And they decide to call it a truce. And then we have Jess, who, you know, she's been sweet talking and messaging with Eugene, who was the guy she met outside the offices for the DNA app. They are now on a date. You know, she's sneakily trying to drop it in here or there, trying to get information, asking questions. Oh my God, what's it like working at the app? And you can see he's a bit uncomfortable and he sensed he must get used a lot for the knowledge that he has. In the end, she comes clean and she's like, do you know what? I brought you here under false pretenses, but on the date, they do end up having a really good time. She's like, now I actually just like you and I feel bad for the fact I was using you. I don't know if that was an Uno reverse or what, but it worked. And I guess Eugene appreciates her honesty and she explains the whole situation. She gets emotional and she's telling him about the fact that she thought it was her long lost twin and explains the whole situation that happened with Peter. And he's like, do you know what? I want to help you. So I can get the billing address with the card that they used to sign up for the app. So they find the address and he's like, let's go. Again, me, a man I just met, and now we're driving to the middle of nowhere. They literally say, this place is in the middle of nowhere. They literally say this place is in the middle of nowhere. And they're like, yeah, let's go together. This is why I wouldn't make for a good thriller film, because I'd just be like, no, I'm gonna go home, watch some Prime Video. She decides to go with this complete stranger. She also calls up Digby, the guy with the green car, or contraption, as I like to call it. And they all drive off into the woods together. And guys, I am on edge. They build suspense. This show because of the twists and turns, the more you watch it, the more you're so suspect of everyone. The more you're more on edge. You start turning on the main characters. Whilst all this is going on, as if like my nerves are not already at an all-time high, Elliot now has the address of Timothy and he's breaking into his house. And just these two scenes playing simultaneously. Guys, I was on edge. I had to pause, press play, which props to this show because I love a thriller that makes me feel like that. I can't think if there's ever been a time where I've had to pause just to catch my breath. Like, that's how good it is. That's how on edge. I'm like, oh no, Elliot. And then, as if things don't get worse, we hear, of course, Timothy come home while Elliot is still in the house. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And while that's going on, we see Jess in the car with Eugene and Digby. They pull up to the address. It's here in the woods, in the middle of nowhere. And then it's this haunted looking cottage. And they're like, yeah, we're here. And you know what happens? Jess gets out of that car and she goes through those gates by herself. And I'm thinking, no. Like, because like if that was me, we pull up to that place, immediately no, let's turn around, time to go home. Sorry guys, yeah, don't need to find out that bad. And when you really think about it, Jess is in this car with Eugene and Digby, aka two strangers that she's literally met in the space of a few days in the woods. And now she's out there by herself going to that house. And cut back, like I said, to Timothy in the house. He can hear Elliot is in there. He goes into the room that he's in and shouts. Elliot runs out. He sees him. They're tussling. He grabs a knife like it's going crazy. And then Timothy starts doing this evil laugh on top of him like, I know who you are. Boom, ends there. Guys, what? I'm gonna repeat what I said before. If you can watch one episode and leave it there, you deserve a prize. Give you, I don't know, an Emmy, a Brit, an Oscar. I don't have the restraint to just watch one episode. Every episode ends on such a good cliffhanger with so many questions. You need to see the next one. So cut to episode 3. It starts and it's like earlier that day. They always place you in different times and like bring it back and everything. And there is, love this scene. Love this scene. So there is, okay, not because of this. There is a priest laying dead on the floor. That's not why I loved it. Blood everywhere. And there's two men who I guess work in the church and they found him. So they've called for the police. The police come and the detective we've been seeing, the one that was questioning Elliot after he thought he found Will's finger. He's asking these men like what happened and they're breaking down everything that happened. And he says to them, does anybody else know about this? They're like, no. He's like, great, my boys will take care of this. Out of nowhere, these two men pop out and kill these other men, the witnesses that found the body. Guys, I was gagged. Like, I didn't see that coming. So I'm now thinking, who is this guy? Did he kill this priest? Why did he kill the priest? Is he involved in everything else, the bigger picture? Like, every time they tie together this storyline, they bring in a whole new element. Speaking of, we see Elliot and Timothy. And guys, I'm going to try and explain this to you coherently. Timothy explains. He knew who Elliot was because he saw Elliot's picture on that same dating app and they matched. He invited him over. He thought Elliot was going to show up. And you know who showed up? Will. So Will was impersonating Elliot. You're just like, so yeah, they slept together and then he was asking questions about Elliot, if he knew anything about Elliot. And then after that, he just never heard from him again. It gets even more crazy. This happened over 2 months ago. So this was before Elliot had even met Will. So Elliot was a mark for Will from time ago. Like, you're just like, okay, what is this story? Every time you feel like you're understanding more, oh my God, this show is so good. It keeps you on your toes. And then, yeah, speaking of keeping you on your toes, Jess knocks on the door of this abandoned looking house and this woman answers the door. The woman looks upset and she explains, you know, I just found out there was a loss in the family. It was her dad passed away. The woman invites Jess in. Jess goes in. I'm like, guys, no, don't do, like, There's so many moments I'm on edge, but they go in, they have a cup of tea. So, you know, they're having a nice conversation and eventually she leaves. So yeah, after all that, Elliot and Jess head back to their old uni because one of their friends is dating someone from that uni who is young. By the way, I feel like I'm not touching on it as much, but the comedy in this show is so well written as well. There's so many little moments and elements in this, especially when they're at the university as well. Like, so well done. Like I said, you go from fearing for your life to like fighting for your life to catch your breath because you're laughing so hard at some of these scenes. It's so good. So anyway, they go to the uni and then they decide, the plan is, the main reason they're going, because they kind of don't want to go. Earlier on, when Elliot was at Timothy's house, they found this picture, like a picture that was made in memory of Peter, and they are aware that that picture came from their yearbook at university. So they want to go to the library to look through the yearbook to see, did Will go to their university, if that makes sense? And that's where he knows them from, because where else would he have found this picture? So they're in the library, they're looking through the yearbook, and Jess's face, she looks like she's seen a ghost. And there is one person in that yearbook, and it's the girl she had just met at the haunted house. Now, the girl said her name was Mary, but in this book, her name is Christina. So this Mary lied about her name, and her name is actually Christina, but she went to the same uni as Jess. So that is like, again, guys, where are you taking us? Because I'm really trying to figure it out, like the twists and turns. Yeah, so Jess is like, we need to go back to that haunted house, basically. I'm thinking, you are a better woman than me, Jess. They are no longer me and I am no longer them. But yeah, so they go back to the house, and that's when Jess finds out that fake Mary, Christina, is actually her sister, and it was her who she matched with on that DNA app. Which, again, these twists and turns are just, this show is so good. I find myself wanting to get to the end and find out what's going on, but at the same time, midway through watching this show, I'm already mourning the end of it. Like, I love it so much. So yeah, then we see fake Mary, Christina, she reactivates her account on the DNA app and messages Jess, tells her to go back to that bar and wait by the phone again for her. She needs to speak to her, but in private. And she says to her that they want her dead. And then we see that they've burnt down her house. This is Christina's house. Fake Mary's house has been burnt down. And you're just like, what? What is going on? In the midst of all of that, Elliot goes on the date that his grandma wanted him to go on. He's not interested in the girl, of course. And then he sees her bag, and it's the same bag that Will used to have. And he's like, where did you get that from? And she lets him know it's this boxing place. So Elliot is determined to try and find Will. So Elliot and Jess, at the end of this episode, they head to this boxing kind of club, bar, vibe place. And that's where they're going to try and find Will. Jess has not told Elliot that she's meant to be meeting Christina at this bar because Christina told her don't tell anyone. So she's trying to protect her newfound family. So they head into this this boxing place. They're looking for Will. They look up, and who do they see on that stage? Will, with an American accent now, going by a completely different name. Bang, and the episode ends there. Guys, this show, the roller coaster of emotions that it takes you on, the questions that are answered, but with another question for you. Like, this is such a good show. Like, I've literally been on the phone to all my friends, letting them know they need to watch it. From the first episode, I was sold, but I didn't know how much more I was going to fall in love with it and the journey that I was going to take on it. So if you, for some reason, have not yet watched Dead Hot, it is available on Prime Video. So a million percent highly recommend watching it. Like, it's so good. I really thank you so much for watching this video. And also, if you have already watched the series, comment below. I want to know, what characters did you relate to? What were your favorite moments of the show? Could you guess the plots all along? I could not at all. What shocked you the most? Like, what was your biggest, oh my gosh moment in the show? Comment below. Let's have a great conversation.